With Joe Biden closing in on the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency, how are Democrats doing? We go above and beyond the headlines with the coalition's chief of staff of the Biden campaign, Jason Tengco. Jason, good evening. Well, good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Jason, we're talking to you. Well, you're talking to us, speaking to us from Oakland, California. Before anything else, can you tell us what you do as coalition's chief of staff of the Biden campaign?
Sure. So the coalition staff is in charge of engaging diverse coalitions, over 20 national coalition groups. That includes African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, and everything else in between. Really making sure that we are engaging all of these communities to help Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win.
Among them, of course, communities, the Filipino American community. But we'll talk about that in just a bit. But let's begin first with this. I wanted to ask you, of course, every 4 years we get an education now about the U.S. electoral system. But something big altered the landscape this year, and that was the mail-in ballots. Can you explain to us first, our audience, why is this so important, and how did this change things up quite a bit?
It was very important this election because obviously we're in COVID-19. We wanted to make sure that voters had all of the options, had all of the information available, that they know that voting was safe, convenient, and easy, so that they could mail in their ballot, they could vote early, they could vote on election day. We really wanted to reemphasize to voters that they had these options, which included mail-in ballots.
Okay, every time mail-in ballots come in into the conversation, for example, CNN's coverage, ang pinag-uusapan, what they talk about is how these mail-in ballots are largely or skewed towards a Democratic vote. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Yeah, generally, and for Democrats, we want to make sure again that they have options. So a lot of our folks wanted to make sure that they voted early using mail-in ballots, especially in key battleground states, so that we're confident with these states that are continuing to make the count. That includes in states like Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, others, that once these ballots are counted, that it's going to be in our favor.
Okay, Jason, you talked about your role in the campaign. Now, tell us about how the campaign engaged with Filipino Americans, the Filipino American community.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris really believe that every single community matters and counts. And so part of the strategy is making sure that we engage all communities, including Filipino Americans. We know that Asian Americans and other people of color can really make the difference in this election. That includes Filipino Americans in states like Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and others. We have a robust Filipino Americans for Biden program. We have volunteers set up across the country. We've put out advertisements in the Filipino channel, GMA, Filipino newspapers specifically targeting Filipino Americans. And we've also engaged Filipino American celebrities, elected officials across the country to help us get out the word about why Joe Biden, why Kamala Harris, and all of the tremendous work that both of these candidates have done for Filipino Americans across their careers.
You said that Phil-Ams made a difference in these key battleground states. Exactly how?
We really feel like Filipino Americans, including a lot of other Asian Americans in these key battleground states, made the difference. We've seen tremendous and historic turnout in a lot of these battleground states. And again, we're feeling like these voters are really going to help propel Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, especially again when it's looking close, but we're feeling confident and good that the ballots remaining in, again, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, that they're going to be called in our favor.
But there is no solid Phil-Am vote, correct?
There is a solid Phil-Am vote, yes. Again, we are a large community in Nevada. It's one of our largest Filipino American communities in the United States. And, when we emphasize to the communities that every single vote counts, that includes Filipino Americans. And we see their tremendous energy and drive and support for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Again, just given the fact that they are the best candidates for our communities, Filipino Americans really feel like they are the best They're suited to take us out of COVID, to bring the economy back, to restore America's place in the world. These are things that Filipino Americans really care about. And it's, again, the reason why they're supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this election.
Yeah, but we've heard of and seen other Filipino American groups that voted for Trump.
You know, we have no doubt that there are Filipino Americans who have supported Trump. You know, we've seen that. But we've also seen, again, tremendous support for both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I think the really key issues that are really important to Filipino Americans, that's bringing us out of COVID, that's making sure that the economy is strong. You know, there's huge unemployment right now under President Trump. There are more than 230 deaths because of his handling of COVID. You know, there's also, you may have seen this stat that Filipino nurses actually make up 4% of nurses, but 30% of COVID deaths. Right. And so we really need a leader who, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris, who can make sure that we, really can take us out of COVID, to move the country forward and bring the economy back. And that's what Filipino Americans voted for. They're also really concerned about healthcare. You know, under President Trump, he's made numerous attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris really want to strengthen healthcare, make it more affordable, make it more accessible, again, for everyday Americans, protect pre-existing conditions, and make sure, I should say, that companies can't discriminate because of pre-existing conditions. And those are the things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been fighting for their entire careers, and Filipino Americans understand and realize that.
Jason, we have about 30 seconds to go. Very briefly, what can a Joe Biden presidency, well, he is practically at the doorstep of the White House already. What can a Joe Biden presidency do for Philippine-U.S. relations?
Yeah, you know, I really feel that Joe Biden, just given his tremendous career as vice president for 8 years, as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he really can help restore America's standing in the world as a leader in the world. He has that tremendous experience with world leaders, interacting with them. And, again, just making sure that we restore our place in the world. And I think that we will have a friend in Joe Biden with the Philippines once he and Kamala Harris are elected.
Jason Tengco, Coalition's Chief of Staff, the Biden campaign, thank you very much. Maraming salamat sa'yo and take care.
Maraming salamat.